Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build, and this time I am building my Garden Sims dream home, or dream farm is what I'm calling it. About a week ago I created my Garden Sim and I shared her on the channel. I will have her linked in the description just in case you guys did miss that Create a Sim video. But essentially she is a Sim who loves nature, she loves the outdoors, she loves to read, and she wants to be a gardener. So I also asked in that video what you guys would like to see her live in, and I want to do this more often where I create Sims using custom content, and then I create something that is specifically created towards them, and it can be an apartment or a house. Originally when I had the idea, I was just gonna build like apartments. I was gonna do certain Sims and do apartments catered to them, but once I built or created the Garden Sim, I was like, she should probably live in a house, you know, so she can have a big garden, she could have a big yard, and all those kinds of things. And so yeah, a lot of you guys agreed with me in that video, said she should totally live in a house, and you guys also left feedback for what kind of house she should live in. Lots of people recommended that she live in a cottage. Some people said a wooden sort of house, I guess more like a cabin, and several people mentioned Windenburg, surrounded by nature, and have a big yard and garden, all those kinds of things that of course a Garden Sim would love to have. And one suggestion that really stuck out to me was from Cyberdoll, so thank you so much for suggesting that she lives in a farm. She did also suggest that she lives in a wooden house, and later on I do change this to wooden, and I tried to also kind of keep it cottagey, but I saw this picture on Pinterest of this house that it was more cottagey looking than this, but it had this addition onto it right here where it has like these really modern windows, and it's more like a sunroom or closed in porch. I don't know, I thought it was really pretty, but like I said, that house was more cottagey looking than this house, and this one looks more like a traditional farmhouse, which I'm really happy with, because I think for this Sim the traditional farmhouse works really nicely, but it almost looks like it's been modernized. Like it has big windows and it has that modern like sunroom extension, so I think that looks really pretty, and it really suits the character I had in mind, I think. But it takes me a while to sort of get the house figured out, because even though I was looking at reference pictures for cottage farmhouses, I definitely made it my own, and doesn't look like anything I originally was looking at besides maybe the sun porch. But even then I change it quite a bit, because I do add these more traditional looking windows in the end. I put them on there for a second in the white, but later on I think I cut that part out, because I did have to heavily cut this video, by the way, but I do change the windows on that later on. But I think it looks a lot nicer the way I end up doing it. And I also was originally going to go with a very light color scheme. I was going to do very light stones and light siding, a little bit more gray. And since so many people mentioned wooden for her house, I decided to go back and change it to a more wooden color scheme in the end. So I think it looks really nice and really pretty, and I don't know, I really like the way it turns out, so I hope you guys like it too. But yeah, like I said, I did have to heavily cut this, so I did try to leave in everything that I thought was important, and if it was important but time consuming, I tried to at least show part of it, because like a lot of it is just terrain painting and landscaping, which is what took up most of the time. So I do show bits and pieces of it, but I don't show all of it. But there are tons and tons of screenshots from like every angle you could probably think of, so that did add several more minutes onto this video of just screenshots. So yeah, hopefully you guys will like them and get a good look at it. But if you don't get a good enough look at it from this video, then of course you can download it. I will have a direct link in the description, or you can just go onto the gallery and search #SimLicy or Garden Dream Farm, and yeah, you'll be able to find it. But yeah, I don't know, it did take me like 13 hours, which is like crazy, because actually I did record I meant to record 3 hours of me furnishing and never pushed record, so actually more like 16 hours, but I didn't save it. I was so frustrated, I couldn't sleep, so I was like, I'm just gonna stay up late and I'm gonna get some furnishing done on my farmhouse. And I furnished about quite a bit of it. I spent like 3 hours furnishing, and I think I messed around with the barn a little bit too. But yeah, I didn't record any of it, so I got pissed and just shut off my game. I didn't save any of it, and yeah, it was so frustrating. If any of you have ever done that, if you record videos, it's very frustrating when you don't push the record button. But yeah, so I guess it actually was 16 hours total. What I put into my game of recorded footage was about 13. I thought it was 10, but I miscounted, because I did share some pictures on Twitter and said 10 hours. But yeah, I guess I was wrong. But thank you guys for those of you who liked and shared my pictures on Twitter, because I got a lot of really good feedback. So I've been very excited to share this farm, but it has taken a while to edit because, like I said, there was so much footage, and I really tried to go through it thoroughly and make sure I kept in the most important parts and keep it at somewhat of a reasonable length. Of course, it's a long video, but yeah, I tried to. I mean, I don't really mind watching long videos, but I feel like me talking for that long would get really difficult. And yeah, I just figured kept it a little bit shorter the better. But I decided to extend the porch, and as you may or may not have noticed, I do flip around the house a few times. Actually, right now it's still facing the original direction, but I flip it around so that this porch is facing the road, because I decided that I wanted this enclosed sunroom to be facing the back garden. So yeah, and I decided to leave this part in because it's kind of important to people who aren't sure how to make the roofs disappear, I guess, when trying to make an open balcony. Well, because the roofs will cut into a room when you lay the fence down. For some reason, it makes it feel like it's outside or something. I don't know. It's a little bit tricky, but I do fiddle around with this for quite a bit. But I don't know. I think it looks really nice. I did try to get a really good angle in one of the screenshots so you can kind of see how it looks. I think it looks really pretty. And I also decided to add lots of columns around to give it a bit more detail, because I did want it to look like an old house, and I feel like when you add columns, it does make the structures look old and more detailed, because I feel like older architecture does have those little bits of, yeah, extra detail. Because I did kind of think that maybe she inherited this farm, and it was maybe an old house, because, well, I grew up on a farm, and there was this, we only had like a handful of neighbors, and one of our neighbors had this really, really old white house, and it was gorgeous. It had this big porch. It was like kind of Victorian style. I mean, probably maybe late 1800s, early 1900s home, but it was a really, really beautiful home, and it was really run down, and I always wanted them to fix it up, but they didn't. They tore it down, and it made me so sad. They put it like a manufactured home, which was a nice manufactured home, but I wish they would have just fixed it up and restored the old house, because it was absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, another reason I was really excited to build a farm is because, like I said, I grew up on a farm. My parents have a 90-acre farm in Oregon, here in the United States. My dad is a cattle farmer, and my mom isn't a farmer, but she does spend a lot of time on the farm. She actually works in town at a doctor's office. But no, I grew up on the countryside. I went to a very small school of only 300 students, and yeah, the town that I grew up in, it's technically 3 towns that all like are part of the same community, because they all go to the same elementary school, and the high school and middle school is a combination school, so the 300 students are all part of the one school or middle school and high school, I mean. So yeah, there was only about, I think, 900 people in one of the towns, maybe 1,500 in the next town, and probably only 500 in the third town, because it was very small. But yeah, I didn't have very many neighbors because I grew up on the very outskirts of the town in a farm. And so I was been very excited to build a farm. And originally I was going to do this barn red because my grandfather had a red barn, and I was always so jealous of his red barn. I thought it was so cute and so classic, because my parents have yellow barns, big, bright, yellow, like yellow barns. And yeah, I don't know. Once I started making the red barn in The Sims, I was like, no, I'm going to go with a more toned down. I didn't go with yellow, but I did go with a wooden barn. And I think it looks really nice. It makes it look a bit more unique and, yeah, a little bit more special. And some people did point that out when I shared it on Twitter, that they liked that I didn't do a red barn. So I'm happy that people liked that, because I really liked it too. But as you can see, I did skip over me placing all these plants. I do show a bit more of it in the back because, I don't know, I wanted to show at least some of it, but like I said, this would have took, like, I think when I originally sped up the footage, it condensed to 2 hours, and then I went through and cut it out and got it to 50 minutes, and then I was like, well, that's still pretty long, because I still have to add photos, and the photos usually take, a few minutes of just, screenshots. So I decided to cut a few more things, and so it just kind of got smaller and smaller, but like I said, I tried to keep everything that I thought was crucial, or at least so you could see me do parts of it, because I do, yeah. I hate cutting stuff out, because, and for me, for being a person who likes to build, I like to see how people do things, and that's how I learned to build in The Sims, was watching other builders. So I know for other people who are learning and trying to find new things, it's really nice to be able to see the whole process, but you probably don't want to sit here for an hour either. So, yeah, I don't know. I really like the way it turned out because it's a bit messy, and I kind of wanted it to look a bit muddy, to be honest. I wanted it to look kind of seamless in with the ground, so I tried to use lots of terrain paint that made it blend in a little bit more, and I even left it in the end because I go over these concrete pathways or gravel pathways with a very light, I think it was just a light eraser, just to kind of blend it in a little bit more. So you'll see that at the end. I think it just, I don't know, it just looks really nice and kind of ties it in together and makes it look a little bit more natural and not so, I don't know, paved out, I guess. But so this is the little backfield area, and I put a pond back here, which I think looks really cool. And you may have noticed that in the beginning footage that she is fishing here, because I do use the debug fishing sign. So yeah, it totally works. There's fish in the pond. She can swim in the pond, everything like that you would normally be able to do with a swimming pool and normally be able to do with a fishing pond. But yeah, I don't know. I think it looks really cool. I don't do that so often, but I did actually do Rory's build challenge for the month of July the same time that I was building this. I kind of took a break from this and went in to build that. So I'll probably share that later on, maybe next week or something like that. But so it has a bit of similarities, but I built a pond in that one too. And I decided not to put a fishing sign because there's so many different fishing places in Granite Falls. But yeah, I was kind of thinking about how many similarities there were between that one and this build. And then even with my last builds for you, there's so many, like, I built these all in like the same week, so they're like all very, very similar in design. But actually my Rory's build ended up looking a lot like Urban Sims cabin that she did. But she used custom content for her build. And so I was thinking that that was pretty cool, because if you don't like using build custom content and didn't want to download the ones that she used, you could probably get a really similar look, even though we didn't use the same windows or doors or anything. Just the colors of the siding looks the same. So I thought that would be kind of cool. But as you can see, I did finish off the pond, and yeah, it does. I think it blends in really nicely. So I hope you guys think it looks, it just, the way the pathway like kind of blends into the pond, it just looks cool. But anyways, right here I'm building some greenhouses. And I do put potted plants in here, and I put plants in all of them. And I also do like a vegetable fruit garden area. And so all of the like harvestable plants and the plants that your Sims will actually have to water and spray for bugs and, you know, do all the gardening things are only in this one area. So like the, excuse me, I'm like choking on my own breath. So all of the plants that they actually have to take care of are in the same area. So like the fields, you know, the actual crops don't have any actual plants that they have to worry about, because it's pretty time consuming. I kind of wanted to keep it condensed into one area so your Sim wasn't having to run all over the lot just to take care of her plants, because it's probably going to be, honestly, maybe too time consuming to take care of these ones. You'd probably have to hire a gardener. And speaking of that, this lot costs like 400,000 simoleons, so it's extremely, extremely expensive. But I honestly think that a build like this, I wouldn't mind too much using cheats on, because I feel like the house isn't that expensive, and that's usually what you spend your money on. It's more of like just the landscaping. Like, imagine it's the plants. Like, the plants honestly probably take up most of the budget, because it's, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of plants, and plants are expensive. So, but this is the barn, and you could probably turn it into whatever you wanted to. Like, if you needed more bedrooms, it could totally be a bedroom, or whatever, I don't know. You could, but I decided to make it more of like a skill building room, kind of just put storage in here, things that I thought looked like things that you may put in a garage or in a barn, just sort of, yeah, things for carving pumpkins and potting plants and whatnot. I don't know, the camping stuff, and it just looks cool, just little knickknacks that I thought kind of made sense to put in here. Really, honestly, it took me a little while to figure out what I should do with the barn, but I think this works, and I think it suits the Sim, because since she's just a single Sim, I wasn't sure if I should turn the barn into a play area, because when I was a kid, we usually, my parents had, we had the seed barn, so it's where my dad would store like seed usually when I was a kid, and that's actually the barn that I had my wedding reception in, because I got married at my parents' farm. And the other barn is for animals and has like a shop area for, like, you know, working on things and to store my dad's tractors and four-wheelers and stuff. And then the center of it is for hay. And then down the road where my sister lives on my parents' farm. But like I said, it's 90 acres, so they live like, they're like neighbors. But that's where my parents store like wood for the winter and some hay, but that's the barn we used to play in. And we had like a rope swing, and me and my sister, when we were kids, would swing on the rope and like fly into a big pile of hay and stuff. So I don't know, it was very reminiscent of my childhood while building this, even though my parents' farm doesn't look anything like this. I wish my parents' farm looked like this. But my parents' farm is very not as cutesy, it's more functional, and their house is old. It's like from the 70s and not a Victorian home, which I mean, that's old too, but I mean, it's just kind of like a, I don't know, not that exciting. But anyways, this is a little fire pit and the garden. As you can see, I skipped over the terrain painting of it, and I just tried to add cutesy little decorations that I thought would be really nice to have in a little garden. So I put some gnomes around, which I always forget to use gnomes, and I put in the little bird feeders. Oh, and this right here, I stacked up these planter boxes because in Pineapple's disabilities build, she did that, and I thought it was really cool. I did try to put actual harvestable plants in there, but I couldn't get her to water them or take care of them, so I ended up replacing them for just some plants. I forget which ones. But as you can see, I am placing down real plants, and I just went onto the gallery and searched plants and gardens and those things and downloaded a few different ones. Some of them have them like completely leveled up. They're like perfect plants, but not all of them, so there's a variety. And I actually forgot to place one, which is so super annoying, and I didn't even realize it before I uploaded it to the gallery. So one spot is missing a plant, so it kind of makes the garden uneven, which really annoys me. So yeah, there's one place for you to plant one plant if you want to. And it did take me a while to figure out what I wanted to put in this little backyard, I guess, backyard area. And so I was thinking, like, should I put a pool, a hot tub? I don't know. And I was like, I don't really see this house as having a swimming pool since they have the pond. So I just put in a place to have like some food, a barbecuer, and then I put a yoga area and just a seating area. But now we are on to the kitchen, and as you can see, I already have kitchen cabinets in, and I didn't like them. I was having a hard time with the color scheme, and I didn't like that they were white, so I did keep this in because I really like this pantry. And so I thought this was really cool. And another thing I got from Pineapple's disabilities build is she used this table that I believe came with Get to Work. She used it in her kitchen. It's kind of like a low-lying countertop for a sim that is in a wheelchair to pull up to. But I thought it looked really nice in the kitchen, so I decided to add it in this pantry area right here. And yeah, just kind of go through and use some debug objects just to add little food, because I do imagine she cooks a lot with food from her own garden, so she stores a lot of it in her pantry. And yeah, I don't know, just thought she should have a pantry. Definitely should have a pantry. So yeah, just kind of go through and find little items. And I did accidentally leave that tray shoved into the books, so that's super annoying, and I did not catch it before I uploaded it to the gallery. So if you do download this house, I would probably delete that tray that gets stuck into the books, which is so annoying. I did delete it in my game. So yeah, and for this interior, I really tried to go with I guess a cottage farmhouse look. I did look at pictures trying to get like interior design tips and stuff, so it's very creamy white, some rich browns, and just tried to, I don't know, I tried to really create something that I thought looked like it would be like in this sort of house. So hopefully you guys like it. I think it turns out really pretty, and this is probably one of my favorite spaces. This is a space for my sim to read in. It's like an enclosed sun porch, like I said. So there's no TV in here. There's just bookcases and a seating area. I put a little lemonade pitcher so you could sit in here, have some friends over, drink some lemonade. Maybe she has a book club. Oh, that's such a cute idea. She could have a little book club and they could meet in here. But this was another thing that I got when I was looking for plants. Somebody had taken these potted plants and merged in, what are they called? Those glowing orb things, a glow fruit, whatever they call it. And they kind of look like oranges. I think they called it an orange plant. I wish I could remember the name of the person that uploaded it to the gallery. But whoever you are, if you ever happen to see this, thank you. That is such a cool idea. And it gives me more ideas to merge other debug fruit items to plants. Because I think that, yeah, it kind of makes it a bit more interesting. But I thought that was kind of cool to have those in that room, because maybe she has her very special plants in there that are like can't be outside. They can't even be in the greenhouse. They need to be inside because they have to be protected from all the elements. So that's what I was thinking. Because under the greenhouse, I did put some more tropical type fruits and flowers and some spliced plants. So there's kind of a variety in the greenhouses. But so since I didn't like the kitchen, I deleted it left the pantry and decided to move on. So I went to the living room and decided that I would just kind of start there, because sometimes I know a lot of people start with the kitchen, and I think I used to start with the kitchen a lot more, but I find myself struggling sometimes with kitchens because I feel like a kitchen really makes or breaks a house. And so if I don't kind of get it to tie in or have a trouble starting the kitchen, sometimes it's just better to start somewhere else and then kind of go back to the kitchen. And I really like the kitchen in the end. Like, I honestly really like the interior of this house in general. Like, I feel like it's really cohesive. I feel like the colors all blend well together, and I don't know, I'm very proud of this build. If you can't tell, I may be sounding a bit braggy, but I have never spent so much time on a build, and I think it really shows because I've never done something so detailed. And yeah, like I said, just never spent this much time on a build ever. Like, when I first started building in The Sims, because I did start with The Sims 4, like I did play The Sims 1 and I think 2 a very long time ago, and never played The Sims 3, but never really got into it till The Sims 4. And so I did build a couple of castles when I first started building. They're not on YouTube or anything. They're just up on my gallery. They're probably awful because I really didn't know how to build then. But I would just kind of wanted to, because I did see some people on YouTube building castles at the time. And I was like, oh, I want to try to do something like that. So I built more of like a fairy tale type castle. And then I built an Arabian type type castle. And yeah, those took me a long time. But since I didn't record them, I don't honestly know how long they took. So that's one cool thing about recording, I guess, or maybe it's not a cool thing. I don't know. Just knowing how long you take on things, and it's kind of interesting. So yeah, this is by far my most known longest build. But yeah, so I did try to add lots of plants throughout the house, but I really tried not to overdo it because, I don't know, she is a garden sim, she loves nature, but there's so much greenery outside, and I did try to bring some of it to the interior, but I didn't want it to be like to where there was like plants growing on the inside of the house, if you know what I mean. But as you can see from earlier when I did separate the staircase, I did make it a bit bigger because I felt like it should be just a bit more grand of a staircase entrance. So yeah, and then so I decided to put a little seating area right here. I don't know, I really imagined her to drink lots of tea. So I do add a teapot into the kitchen, and I put a little tea, just a little teapot here, and just thought that she would just read books and drink tea and plant her plants. I don't know. Now that I said the book club, I think that's totally what I would do with this sim, but I don't imagine that I'll be playing on this lot because it's really hard for my computer to handle. It did get really slow after a while to build. I don't know if you'll be able to tell too much in the footage. After it's sped up, you can't really tell too bad. But yeah, it takes a long time to load on my computer, but I am in the process of building a computer, as I have mentioned in the last couple of videos. I just got a couple more parts, and yeah, I probably actually play with this once I get my new computer. I'm very, very excited for that. Actually, interesting or kind of funny story. I had to go, because we live right on like, not like a super main road, but it's like close to the high school, so there's always kids walking and people messing with stuff. So we try not to have packages delivered, because the like FedEx or UPS guy will usually just leave it at our front door. Even if we request for them to like have a sign for it, usually it gets left anyways. And actually one time my husband got a package delivered, and it was like a really expensive tool for woodworking, and the tool was left on the sidewalk in front of our house, but the box and the packaging was completely gone, and it got completely ripped up. And the cops ended up bringing it later because it had our address on it. And they're like, did your package get stolen? And we're like, actually, we have the contents of the package, but the box had just disappeared. And he's like, okay, so we don't need to report anything. But so we decided that we would just have my computer parts be left at the FedEx, and I would just go pick them up. And so I had to drive a town over because our town's really small and we don't have a FedEx. So I had to drive over to the next town, and it was so busy, and their FedEx is right downtown, and it was like a Friday night, so like there's like people out going to bars and going out to eat, and it was just completely busy. So I pulled into a bank parking lot, and I was like, I'll just park here, even though there's like signs everywhere that's like, for bank customers only if you're going to the bank, maybe park here. And I was like, it'll be fine. It's gonna take me 2 minutes to walk across the street to go to FedEx. And so I actually got yelled at by the parking guard, and I'm like, oh no, I'm totally going to the bank, I just want to pick up my package really quick. And so I ended up going over and pulling out $20 out of the ATM just so I didn't get in trouble, because she was like, you have 10 minutes or you have to be back here. And I was like, oh my god, I just want to get out of this town, get out of the traffic, just want to go home and get my computer parts and be done with it. So yeah, it was fine. It was fine in the end. Just a little white lie. I mean, it didn't end up being a lie because I ended up going to the ATM anyhow. But anyways, so I wanted to mention that originally I was going to make this room like a home office with a computer, but I thought that even though I ended up giving her a computer later on in her bedroom, I thought that she probably wouldn't have necessarily an office. I thought it was more important for her to have like an actual washing room, because this door that's like right here on the hallway leads directly out to the barn. And so I thought that maybe when she was done doing, I don't know, whatever yard work or outside work in the barn, she could come in here, throw in her dirty clothes. There's even a bathroom right next to it that has a shower, so she could clean up really easily. And yeah, just thought that made a little bit more sense. And something that I will probably do once we get pets and if we get farm animals, I will definitely give her some chickens. Like, I really wanted her to have chickens. I even thought about making like a fake chicken coop with some of the like statue chickens. I didn't end up doing it in the end, but I did think about it. So, but now we are on to the kitchen, and I decided to go with the dark countertops because this is the reason I was having trouble with it in the beginning. It's because I was going with this very like, at least the reference pictures that I was looking at, the cottage, like country farmhouse kitchens had lots of whites and stuff, and it just really wasn't working for me. I think it's because I was going with white walls, and yeah, I ended up going with this darker color in the end with the gray countertops, and I think it looks really, really nice. And I purposely didn't use the ones from the Parenthood pack because I've used those countertops so much. I've kind of just told myself not to use it in this build, and I'm glad I did because I think these base game countertops work really, really nicely. And speaking of base game in general, this is definitely not a base game house. It's not an anything house. It's an everything house. I did use all the packs that I have. So if you do have a limited number of packs, I would be aware of that if you decide to download this, because I did probably use something from every single pack because yeah, it's a very big build, very big lot. So I needed every item I could possibly use in this build. But I am going to be doing some more that are more limited, because like my builds for you, most of them are limited because they're the packs that people do own. And I have gotten many requests for doing base game houses, and I've gotten several requests to do one that is just city living and base game, which I did do an apartment that was base game and city living, and I didn't put it in the title, but honestly the thumbnail is like hideous. and it's one of those sometimes when I take the screenshots, I have trouble, especially with apartments when they're tight spaces, getting like a good angle. And there for a while I had like a problem with doing open up pictures where you could see too much of the build. It was just like I was trying to get like certain angles. I don't know how to explain it, but I think I'm going to go back and change that thumbnail because maybe it's not that appealing of a video because the thumbnail is kind of ugly. And then maybe I will put in the title that it is base game and city living only. I don't know. Some of my thumbnails I feel like I should go back and change. Some of them I have, but I'm getting better and trying to figure out sort of my style and how I want them to look. And something you'll notice, this kitchen isn't actually this dark, but my computer was having a hard time getting the light to catch up with it because of all the items added. So sometimes that does make the lights lag a little bit. But anyways, this is my Garden Sense bedroom, and it's really pretty. I do end up kind of shuffling things around and putting the bed on the other side, but I really, really like the way this bedroom turned out. The lighting in it is beautiful in the afternoon. It just like, I don't know, comes through these big windows, and that's why I'm really happy I use these bigger, like more modern windows, because it lets so much light onto the inside of this house. It looks really, it's just so pleasing to me. It looks so bright and cozy. I just really, really like it a lot. But yeah, so there is actually 2 other bedrooms, and you could probably rearrange the upstairs floor plan to maybe add a 3rd or something like that. I don't know. You could probably, or a 4th, I mean, maybe not a 4th. But you could probably figure something out if you wanted more Sims to be in this house. I did decorate the other 2 bedrooms, even though this is just for a single Sim, because I did want her to live in this, like, I didn't want it to be, like, so small that she could only ever, like, be by herself or have a significant other someday. I wanted her to have the option to have a family if she so chooses. So, yeah, I do decorate the other rooms, but it's, like, so basic. I did leave it in, though, so you can kind of see what I did. But I just put beds in there and like a dresser. So there's like no personal detail. There's no clutter items. So it's just very generic. So you could make it a toddler's room, you can make it a nursery, you can make it a teen room, whatever you wanted to do. If you wanted to download it and you had kids or roommates or whatever you had in this household. But mine is just a single sim, but I do imagine her living in this house forever. Like, this is her dream home. She's not going to leave it, but she may want to get married. She may want to have kids. She may want to have somebody move in. I don't know. So I did want there to be more than just one bedroom, but this is the main upstairs bathroom. It's not an ensuite to her room, but like I said, her you could totally like reconfigure a few things around to make it bigger, or not bigger, but better for more sims. So if you did want the like master suite to have its own bathroom, oh my god, it's way too difficult to talk. If you did want the master suite to have its own bathroom, there is lots of space because that master bedroom is pretty big. But this is the smaller one, or oh, I thought I was just gonna decorate one room at a time, but these are the other two rooms. So beds, rugs, curtains, and like a dresser, and that's like it. I did hang up like a couple of pieces of artwork, but literally no clutter items because I wanted them to be very, very basic. Like, I figured she'd probably have the rooms available for when she did have guests. Maybe she has family that comes to visit, but yeah, it's not decorated for any specific sims. But yeah, so that's what I was thinking with that, and there's not too much more left of the video. I can't believe I've talked the whole way through. I am so surprised. I thought this was going to be way harder. I'm like, oh my god, it's such a long video. How am I going to talk and think of things to talk about? But yeah, so I just kind of finish up these bedrooms, and then I think I just add lights on the exterior because I did want to include that because there's some terrain painting adjustment that I do at the end that I kind of wanted to show you guys because, like I said, I wanted it to look a little bit more natural, or like it flowed in with the ground a little bit better. And at this point I felt like the gravel roads or gravel pathways looked a little bit I don't know, not as I don't know how to explain it, but I kind of just go over it to make it look a little bit more blended in, just by making some of it look a little bit less gravelly than the other parts. But anyways, this is all I do, and that's the end of the video. So yeah, like I said, if you want to see my garden sim, I will have her linked in the description. And yeah, if you want to see any more sims that I can build houses for, please let me know. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions you have, and I will talk to you guys soon. Okay, bye!